G'day, it's Warwick Powell here from Smart Trade Networks, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. You know, over the last 18 months since the outbreak of the pandemic, we've seen many aspects of human social organisation and processes go through fundamental change. And if not change, then certainly a consolidation and an acceleration of pre-existing trends and patterns. And one of those is in the area of how it is that people buy and sell things. Since the advent of the internet, we have progressively seen the growth of electronic commerce. First with businesses that open up their own e-commerce stores and try and buy and sell things from their own websites, and ultimately through processes of aggregation and concentration, we've seen the emergence of marketplace platforms such as eBay and Amazon and that sort of thing, which traditionally offered a very one-way experience between merchants and consumers. And more recently, particularly in places like China, we've seen the evolution of e-commerce in a direction that is described as social e-commerce. And what that means is the integration of digital entertainment and the activation of communities of consumers as content creators as part of the e-commerce experience as a whole. In this environment, consumers become digital content creators, referrers, they're a community-based ratings agency almost, and what a lot of merchants and product owners and brand owners are trying to do now is mobilize those communities around the brands to create strong fan bases. We believe that there is one more generational change that is yet to take place, and that generational change is now upon us, and we call it e-commerce 3.0, and we mean by that the integration of blockchain credentialing up and down the supply chain so that buyers and sellers can demonstrate to each other their bona fides and build more trustworthy systems where buyers can have more confidence in the claims that are being made about the things that they're paying for. This last generation of e-commerce 3.0 is in effect what we have been building at Smart Trade Networks. Firstly through our generic or universal architecture for supply chain asset registrations and tracking through an events log built on REA accounting, which is resources, events and agents, and ultimately into a marketplace where buyers can click through all of the product details and identify the kinds of documentation and evidence artifacts like videos and photographs that they are looking for to substantiate the veracity of the claims that are being made about those products. Now, these transformations, I think, are ultimately going to lead to significant improvements in how supply chains function and what it is that communities ultimately get. We've seen that Amazon, for instance, has spent $200 million US. No, sorry, $700 million US in 2020, and a commitment of about 10,000 personnel to tackling counterfeiting on their own platform, which goes to show how big a problem product counterfeiting is in this digital environment. We know through other research from PwC and others that food fraud globally is in the order of a $50 billion US problem. We also know in supply chain finance that documentary fraud sits at the heart of a whole bunch of problems in how money moves and doesn't move, which has implications for businesses in terms of their access to funds and their cash flow and their ability to function and be sustainable. But it also has implications for the consumer market as a whole, because all of these issues add to the risks of doing business and therefore increases the costs of doing business. and that drives up the cost of end products for buyers. We are progressively tackling all of these problems with the work that we're doing at Smart Trade Networks, and over the next couple of months we'll be releasing for the community the first generation, if you will, of Gen 3 e-commerce, which is a blockchain-enabled credentialed product marketplace. And when we do that, we'd love to invite you as product merchants and brand owners to put your hand up to join us on this mission to ensuring that communities get authentic products. And if you're a member of the community at large, the community of humanity, if you will, that cares about what supply chains do, how they do them, who does them, and the authenticity of the claims that are being made through those supply chains, then Smart Trade Networks is the place for you. In the next couple of months, as I said, we'll be launching a range of first generation products that hopefully will excite you all about the possibilities of decentralized information systems and how they can be applied into supply chains to transform them in the directions that communities actually want supply chains to go. So keep your eyes out, and I'll talk to you a bit more about it in due course. Thanks very much for listening.